welcome to Being with Olivia. This is the long-awaited, very late video I have been procrastinating on, the rest of my top 5 favorite movies. This is part 2, so if you haven't seen part 1, go check it out. Overall, I'm doing my top 12 favorite movies in general. I did the bottom 7 from place 12 to 7 in my last video, but I couldn't fit the rest of the 5, so I just threw it in this one. So if you have seen part 1, but you kind of forgot the movies I had on there, I'll just list them off quick. I had Coraline, Elvis, Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption, 300, Silence of the Lambs, and Pan's Labyrinth. Now, if you haven't seen that review, go check it out if you want an in-depth review of all of those movies I just listed off, because they are amazing. So if you haven't seen those movies, check them out too. Now, with that introduction aside, let's move on to the rest of the top 12. This is the exciting one because it's top 5. In 5th place, we have the movie The Matrix. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, or you have seen it, but it's been a minute, here's a brief overview of the plot. It's about Neo, the main character, aka played by Keanu Reeves, is a hacker living in a crappy apartment in the real world, which we all share. Well, his whole life is a lie, and it turns out the world he's living in is a simulation, and it's trapped inside of the real world, which is run by a bunch of robots called the Matrix. And the reason why Neo knows about this is because he is believed to be the one. So this big awesome guy named Morpheus and hot chick who he ends up falling in love with, Trinity, come to collect him and tell him blah blah blah. He joins their side and fights a bunch of machines. Now, I haven't seen these movies in a while since I was in like 6th grade, so that's like the basic rundown plot. This movie is awesome though. Every single character in this movie has like awesome shades, long trench coats. There's crazy action, sci-fi movie, rated R. Neo is being trained to dodge bullets. I mean, this movie's insane. Every character in this movie is phenomenal. How is he gonna be the one if he's dead? This movie's got a whole cool theme and underlying message going on. In a world of lies and deception, you can always find the truth if you just unveil it and open your eyes. Brilliant. And Keanu Reeves is fantastic in this movie. This would have been one of like the first movies I've seen him in. I mean, I know I've seen him in John Wick, but I can't remember if I watched John Wick first and then Matrix, or Matrix and John Wick. No matter what, this was like the first or second movie I've seen with him in it, and I fell in love with his acting even more. Every character in this movie is so serious, it's almost comical. And it has a fun play on robots and stuff, and how like the world is in a simulation and there's actually robots that are taking over the real world. Probably what's gonna happen to us in a couple hundred years. And the visual scenes in this movie are fantastic. It's such a beautiful and cool movie. I mean, the bad guys, when they're fighting, it's so satisfying. And there's so many iconic things in these trilogies that people constantly reference, whether it's like saying things or like doing actions. Like the whole bullet dodging scene. So what, you're saying I can dodge bullets? No, I'm saying you won't have to. I mean, come on, the whole dialogue between the characters is just so edgy and awesome. The special effects were incredible. I can't think of any other action movie or character that has like as good as special effects as The Matrix does. They were constantly doing cool slow motion tricks and things with the bad guys and fighting. This film is cinematic. It is incredible. There's so much tension and drama and chaos. It's so funny how you can just have like a ton of characters that are very serious and emotionless, like Neo, Trinity, Morpheus, but have them doing tons of cool stuff like bullet dodges and rooftop chases, just really enhancing the whole dystopian future vibe going on. This movie is dark. It has a cool contrast of colors, tinted green because of the Matrix. It's very washed out, sleek, moody. It's got a whole vibe to it. Now there's 3 movies. Not 4. I refuse to acknowledge the 4th one. I was looking forward to that movie. I could not wait. I love The Matrix. I'm a huge fan. When I found out they were gonna do a 4th movie, I was amazed. Well, it was awful. So bad. I was very disappointed. So therefore, it doesn't exist. But the rest of the movies are fantastic. The second one is arguably just as good as the first, with the ghost twins. It's all incredible. The rest of the trilogy of The Matrix is amazing. And the action scenes are just as good as the first. they're just not as iconic because, I mean, come on. The Matrix in 1999 was prime, peak for its time. There's not much more to say about this film. It's action-packed. The plot is pretty simple. It's not like super chaotic, but it's also new and entertaining. Instead of like robots coming to the real world like Terminator and taking over, it's a whole thing about a simulation inside of a real world that AI came up with. And it has an iconic villain too. Agent Smith, just starting out as your basic dude, who's the leader of all the other agents, but then turns into a whole virus. Agent Smith remains one of my favorite villains till this day. Whenever he would come up in the movie, I would be so happy to see him, but yet I would be like, oh no, the main characters are screwed. This dude hates humans. He thinks the humans are the viruses and wants them out. And the Matrix was like a prison to Smith that he had to escape. So naturally, like someone would do, he became it. Overall, The Matrix isn't just a sci-fi action rated R movie. It's a cultural phenomenon, mind-bending, genre-defining classic that remains to be one of the most iconic movies of all time. If you haven't experienced it yet, do yourself a favor. Do yourself a flavor. Take the red pill and just see how deep down you'll go in this rabbit hole. Now that was in 5th place. In 4th place, we have the movie The Batman. Not to be mistaken for Batman, The Dark Knight, Batman Returns, Batman Begins, Batman Forever, Batman vs. Superman, Batman and Robin, Batman, the other Batman, another Batman. There are so many Batmans, but there's not the Batman until this movie. I mean, come on, can we get a little more creative and original with these titles? Now, The Dark Knight and The Batman, the one I'm talking about right now, are my 2 favorite Batman movies. I love them. I actually just recently saw The Batman with my dad after I watched the movie 7 and loved it. It's so good, although it basically is a ripoff of the movie 7. Just in DC form. I mean, the creator of The Batman did say he got a lot of inspiration from the movie 7, but I mean, you can have inspiration to a certain extent, and then it just becomes the same plot, the same movie. We can definitely see the inspiration in this. Basic overview of the plot for those of you who haven't seen it or are getting it confused with a million other Batman variants out there. This movie is about Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, aka who was played by Dedrick Diggory, aka Robert Pattinson. A lot of different names, a lot of different things going on. Essentially, they're all the same person. Anywho, there's murders going around in the city. Really important people, like the mayor, law enforcers, court people. I don't really know how a city works, just like, you know, major people that help to run the city and go over things are getting murdered. Well, the guy who's murdering them is doing this for a reason. He has a motive. Not for revenge. Not just because he wants to. There's a deeper thing going on here. And after every murder, he leaves a little note, a little clue for Batman. This dude's like obsessed with Batman. He like wants him to be involved in this. So far, a lot like 7, you know, the bad guys are leaving things behind to help out the detectives. Well, not really help out, I should say, but just kind of like show what's going on, show their master plan they're brewing up. So Batman tries to stop him and he teams up with Catwoman and some other major detective to see what's going on, why he's killing these people, and try to stop him. Now, Catwoman's in this because she lost her friend, like someone she took in that was like homeless and not doing too well. And that friend went missing, so she's like, fine, I'll work with you, I guess. I have no other option. And they got like a duo thing going on here. Anywho, the bad guy is the Riddler, as you guys could probably have guessed based on the clues he was leaving behind, the riddles. I mean, it was kind of obvious. And a lot like the movie 7, how the bad guy in 7 was killing people based off of the 7 deadly sins. This guy, the Riddler, is killing people because they're corrupt and evil. Like the mayor and all these like big city people are actually doing behind the scenes scandals, going to clubs, selling, doing bad stuff. So he's killing them for justice. Even though killing, violence, isn't really justice in itself, but hey, it's okay. Now the people he were killing, yeah, they were bad, doing bad stuff. I mean, they were all cheating on their wives and husbands and, weren't great people, but they also did their jobs. They would help the city, do stuff. Did they deserve to die? Probably. Should they have been killed though? No. No matter what, that man had to stop this dude. Because not only was the Riddler just planning on killing bad people, I don't really see anything terrible with that. He had to take it a step further, and he wanted to flood the whole city, killing millions of innocent people too. He wanted to flood out all the bad people and start fresh, even though there were plenty of innocent people in there too. He was a little insane. He didn't really make much sense. He was fantastic though. His acting was great. And it was really cool because even though this plot is very similar to 7, it did still have its own idea. It wasn't copy and paste the same movie. Like with 7, I kind of guessed right away, okay, 7, killing people that are gluttony, lust, wrath. We can kind of assume he's killing people that are partaking in the 7 deadly sins. In this movie, you don't guess until about halfway through the film. And there's so many side plots and side scandals going on. It's not just about the killer or Batman. There's so many other corrupt people that are kind of in the sideline, that are making deals with each other. You got Catwoman's whole life and the mystery behind her. Although she didn't really go by Catwoman in this movie, her name was Selena. Although she had a lot of pet cats. This movie is dark, gritty, rated R, fantastic. But yeah, this movie is definitely more adult than I thought it would be. And even though it has a lot of the same themes and things going on from 7, it is still its entertaining, cool, thrilling own movie. One of my favorite scenes from it is a car chase when Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, jumps in his Batmobile. But it's not the classic Batmobile. It's an older style, a vintage one. It's not super showy and big. It's just a really cool, dark, sleek car. And he's chasing the Penguin who's in his car. They're on the highway. They're weaving through other cars, they're in tunnels, there's chaos. At one point, the Penguin swerves into the semi-truck and causes a huge explosion, and there's fire. And while he's driving, you can see him laughing through his rear view mirror. And all of a sudden, Batman comes out of the explosion and just wrecks him. That whole chase is intense and crazy. And what's really cool is in the Batman trailer, they show how after Batman flips Penguin's car over, he comes over to Penguin's window and he kind of transitions and fades into the Batman symbol, signaling the end of the trailer. They do a really cool transition into the logo. They had a lot of cool action-packed thriller things in this movie. It's a superhero movie. What I do appreciate is there's always action. If you guys haven't seen the Penguin show, you should really watch it. Because after you watch the movie The Batman, then you go to the show because it takes place after The Batman and it's about the Penguin. I haven't seen it yet, but I really want to watch it. My dad has seen it and he loves it. So definitely check that out. I heard it's really good. I do want to watch it and I'll make time for it because it's good. This movie is emo to its core. Even the line of dialogue in this was just phenomenal. In just a really cringy, cheesy way. A lot of people think I'm in the shadows, watching them, waiting to attack. No. I am the shadows. That was the line Batman said, to no one's surprise. Just let him cook. He's clearly going through something in this movie. The dark black makeup under his eyes says it all. Anywho, not much to say about that movie. It's your classic DC movie. Really fun, really cool. A little bit of a ripoff of the movie 7, though. Alright, in third place, we have the movie... Rocky! Specifically, Rocky 4. But the Rocky movies in general. Let me tell you, after I saw these movies, I was inspired. I hit the gym harder than I used to. I tried boxing for a day, then found out I looked like an idiot in the gym because I had horrible form and can't punch for crap. But I tried, and I was there in the moment. These movies are classic, and my initial reaction to when anyone tells me they haven't seen them is to scream, cry, and throw up. Because what do you mean you haven't seen the Rocky movies? Like, even though they're older, they're the Rocky movies. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky Balboa, I mean, come on. Granted, most adults have seen these movies. Not a lot of kids have, though. Sure, the first movie can be a little slow, but that's because they gotta build everything up. They gotta build up the tension, the drama, the theatrics. They gotta really show Rocky's character development. This isn't just a training montage where the guy's like, I need to get in shape and fight this dude. And then he runs up a few flights of stairs, does a few cartwheels, does some jumping jacks in an open pasture in the sun. No, this is hardcore training every day at 4 a.m. Grizzly, awesome movie montage masterpiece. And the Rocky films are my comfort movies. I watch them all the time. My favorite one is the fourth one with Ivan Drago. I mean, come on. That movie is peak. I mean, sure, Rocky 1, the original, fantastic. It's my second favorite. I love it. But all the rest of the movies are masterpieces. I mean, by the 5 and 6, though, I get kind of like, eh. Ivan Drago is an incredible boxer and bad. I mean, he's not necessarily like a bad guy, but he's the antagonist in the film. He's the best competitor because he's a robot. This dude just had to test Rocky in different ways. Like in the first couple movies, Rocky had to build up his stamina because he like punched and he was good at fighting, but he wasn't really good at like moving and grooving. In the fourth movie though, Rocky had to learn how to be a machine, and it was intense. And what I do appreciate about the Rocky movies is he doesn't always win battles. I mean, in every single movie, it gets so sickening how the good guy always wins. And how in the end, the protagonist will always win. I love how in the first one, Rocky lost. Granted, he did win again against the same person in the second one. But it really just makes you appreciate his character development. Because even though he lost in the first movie, he still won in a way. I mean, he really changed his life drastically and completely. And after he beats Apollo Creed in the second one, oh my goodness, you just appreciate him even more and respect him. And I love so much Creed and Balboa's relationship, how they become like friends later on in the movies. It's adorable, it's amazing. And the Creed movies are just as good. I love the Creed movies. Adonis is great too. But the Rocky movies are classics and will always be number one in my heart. I have the Adonis Creed skin in Fortnite though, and I rock it every time. Anywho, for those sad individuals who haven't seen the Rocky movies, watch them. But here's a basic overview. Rocky Balboa, played by Sylvester Stallone, is just a basic dude. He's single. He has a crush on this pet shop owner, Adrian, though. She's adorable, but he struggles. I mean, he lives in like a small apartment. He just wants something more with his life. So he trains. I mean, it's just incredible, his whole training, how he's running up those stairs, and he can't do it at first. He only makes it halfway, and as time progresses, you really see it, and he gets to the top. There's children running behind him. I mean, it's iconic. Anywho, he becomes a boxer, trains, blah, blah, blah. He gets a chance to fight the heavyweight champion, Apollo Creed. This dude is no joke. He's rough and tough. So yeah, I gotta wrap this up. I've been talking for an hour now, and I still got 2 whole movies to go still, so that's basically what it's about. This movie is classic, iconic. I mean, they're the Rocky movies. You gotta watch them if you haven't seen them. It's like Forrest Gump. There are just classic movies that you need to watch. Personally, you should watch every Rocky movie. They're amazing. I mean, the 5th and 6th one are okay, but you just gotta watch them to see how it ends. Anywho, moving on to second place in my list, we have Gladiator. I love Gladiator. I love Maximus. I love it so much. I love Rome and Greece and Sparta and all that stuff. Persia. I mean, I love the movie 300. I love this movie. I love learning and watching about that timeline. Gladiator is perfection. Now, it's actually very funny because I saw Gladiator 2 in theaters when it just came out recently before I watched Gladiator 1. So I came out of the theaters and I'm like, oh my gosh, Gladiator 2 is amazing. This is the best movie ever. And then I watched Gladiator 1 and I was like, oh my goodness. this is even better than Gladiator 2. I still love Gladiator 2. A lot of people didn't really like it because it was too childish. It was more playful, and there was definitely some silly things in it, like sharks swimming around in the dome. But I loved it, okay? I'm a sucker for action. If there's cool deaths, cool violence, awesomeness, I mean, I don't care how silly it is and how, like, random and very unrealistic things are. I'm just in it for the cool deaths and scenes. But the main guy in Gladiator 1, Maximus, whatever, I'm not even gonna try to remember or pronounce the rest of his name because it is insanely long. He was a dude. Bro was a bro. He was a grisly, stoic man. I mean, he was no King Leonidas, but he was pretty dang close. Are you not entertained? The dark contrast of colors, the audience, the people. And I almost liked watching Gladiator 2 first and then watching Gladiator 1, because in Gladiator 2, the main character is Maximus' son. So we got to see him when he's all grown up and he's fighting in the ring, doing his thing. And then in Gladiator 1, we can see him in the movie. We see the main guy from Gladiator 2 talking to Maximus, but he doesn't know in Gladiator 1 that Maximus is his dad. It just makes you appreciate it even more because we're like, I know your future. I know what you're gonna grow up and do. And all of the battles in the arena are so intense, mostly in the first one. I mean, in the second one, they're still crazy and awesome, but in the first one, you're really holding your breath. And the whole plot and structure of how Maximus, like, needs to fight in the arena to gain his freedom. I have a high appreciation for these movies, and the characters are great. I mean, Lucius's mom, once again, saw the second one before the first one. I don't really know who she was in the second movie. All I knew was she was Lucius's mother, so I was like, okay. I mean, she seems fine. Like, I don't really have any emotions towards her. After then watching the first one, I was like, whoa, this is insane, because she really did try so hard to protect him. I mean, she tried, and she just wanted him to have a free, good life and not end up like his father. But yeah, these movies are just entertaining and gritty and awesome. Okay, kind of trying to rush through these here. The last movie, well, the first movie, in very, very first place, my all-time favorite movie, we have La La Land. Now, is it a movie? Is it a musical? I consider it a movie. I mean, it's a movie with music in it. Still a movie. Still pictures moving on screen. Still a story plot. It's a movie, so I will consider it to be my favorite movie of all time. La La Land rips your heart out. It is like the saddest, most incredible movie ever. It has the most tragic love story featuring two characters, Mia and Sebastian. Sebastian, played by Ryan Gosling, and Mia, played by Emma Stone. Two phenomenal actors, and they were great in this movie. Ryan Gosling, aka Sebastian, is a jazz artist. He really wants to make it big, and he wants to open people's eyes to the beautiful world of jazz. But jazz is dying. Pop is becoming more out there. I mean, jazz isn't really relevant anymore. And Mia is an aspiring actress. She wants to make it big on TV and, you know, be a great actress. Which is really funny how she wants to be an actress in the movie, but she's already an actress in real life. But she's struggling. I mean, in Los Angeles, it's harsh. But it does a great job of showing that in this movie. How they're just so brutal. They don't care if you've had a bad day. They don't care if you're late. They don't care how much effort or how much work you put into this. If you got it, you got it. But you still might not make it. If you're really good, you gotta keep working up. They're not gonna do you any favors. And if you don't got it, you're out right away. Well, me and Sebastian meet. Obviously later they fall in love, but they're not like, you know, like that right away. They're just casual friends who keep coincidentally running into each other. Well, Mia doesn't like jazz. She doesn't really know anything about it. I mean, that was my reaction too before I saw this movie. I was like, like I haven't listened to jazz before. I don't really get it or know like what it is. I don't know the history behind it. I was just like, jazz is jazz. I'd rather listen to rap or rock or pop. So Sebastian like shows Mia the beautiful world of jazz, and he also shows the audience too, because I've never like really listened to jazz before, but after watching this movie, I was like, holy cow, this is beautiful. Well, there's some conflicts. I mean, once again, the jazz world is dying, and Sebastian is trying so hard to play it and show people but nobody really cares. And he's broke. He can't afford crap. I mean, he's living in a tiny apartment with like barely any furniture or anything. He needs money. But he tries, just like Mia tries with her acting career. It's not going so well. Time skip, blah, blah, blah. A few couple songs and scenes later, they're together. They're still struggling, but they're managing. They're happy and in love. While Sebastian gets this offer from an old frenemy kind of his, and he decides to join him. They used to be in a jazz band, but now they do more modernized jazz, so it sounds more like pop than jazz, but it's still got a few things in there. Well, Mia goes to one of their concerts, and she's like, "This is not you. Sebastian, this isn't you, blah, blah, blah." I mean, he likes jazz, and what they were playing wasn't considered jazz. She was like trying to explain to him that that's not how you bring back jazz. That's just like moving on to another form of it. Well, they get in a huge fight, blah, blah, blah. They break up. Mia moves back to go live with her parents. Sebastian ends up quitting with the band. Well, Mia wanted so badly to try out for this certain thing, but it wasn't like open at the time, and they weren't taking anyone new. Well, they had an opening right when she moved, so Sebastian drove all the way down to her parents' house, which is in like a whole nother state, dragged her butt back there so she could try out. Eventually, she got in. She was really happy. It's so much more emotional. I'm just kind of like running it down really easy and fast. They stay friends. They don't start dating, but they stay friends. Mia focuses on her acting, and Sebastian focuses on like his jazz. He's doing his own thing. They're like, hey, if we're still single in a couple years, see how we're doing. If we're successful and our paths cross again, then we'll get back together and try again. Well, there's a big time skip at the end of the movie to like years and years later. And we see that Mia is already like super rich, successful actor. We can already tell that she's a big actress and she made it. She has a kid and a husband, but they don't show the husband. So we're like, oh my gosh, it's Sebastian. She ended up with Sebastian. Well, then they decide to tear our hearts out and show us it was some random man that literally was not in the movie at all and nobody cares about, leaving us destroyed. But it doesn't end there. Then they decide to have Mia and the man go on a date. And they're looking downtown for a nice little place to go, and they find this cute little restaurant thing that's playing music on the inside, so they decide to go check it out. By the way, Sebastian's big dream, he always wanted to own like a restaurant where he could play music in. He wanted to call it some dumb name like Chicken on Stick or something, Chicken on a Stick, I don't know, something dumb like that. But Mia was like, no, call it Sebs with a music note as the apostrophe, okay? Keep that in mind. So Mia and this wannabe Sebastian man go into there, and it's this cute little place, and guess what? It's Sebastian's restaurant that he titled it what she should have told him to do, Sebs with the apostrophe as a music note. So they go in there, and Sebastian plays their theme song because he notices her. And as he's playing the music, we go into her mind, and we see like what could have happened if she would have picked Sebastian over this random dude and they would have gotten together, which would have been a much better life, keep in mind. But it's just so heartbreaking because he's playing not only their theme song in the background, but there's a whole montage going on of what could have been. So anyway, even though this movie makes you ugly cry like a million times, it's amazing. The music is so great. I mean, City of Stars, I'm learning it on the piano right now. It's really hard. I mean, very, very, very hard piece to play. But the music is just wonderful. I mean, I have never heard such brilliant music in my life. And La La Land is more of a movie than a musical. I'd say it leads more towards the movie side. It doesn't have a lot of songs like Wicked. It's not like one sentence, two sentence, and then a song. They have more of like a structure going on. There's only like 4 or 5 songs that contain like singing, and then the rest is just kind of like background music while the characters are interacting or doing something. But this movie is just a masterpiece. It is perfection. From the depressing story, the amazing acting, the great, phenomenal music, gorgeous visuals and scenes. It's all beautiful. If I had to pick 3 songs that were my favorite from that movie, I'd do Someone in the Crowd, City of Stars, and the one that John Legend sings. Something fire. Like, we can start a fire. Start a fire. Of course, me and Sebastian's theme is beautiful. but there's not really any singing in there, but it's gorgeous on its own. So those are my top 12 favorite movies. Well, this is the review of my top 5, but adding the part 1, which was the top 7. I would love to know in the comments what your favorite movies are, if you've seen any of these movies I listed off, and like what you think of them, and just your thoughts in general. And if you haven't seen these movies, go check them out. Like Rocky, La La Land, Gladiator, Matrix, The Batman. If you have never seen these 5 movies, you need to go watch them ASAP. And The Penguin Show, because my dad loves it and he'd want me to tell y'all to go watch it. Make sure to like if you've enjoyed and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more reviews coming up. But anywho, thanks for watching and I hope I'll see you around.